sponsored by me, which is from Not Another Craft Kit, which is the limited quantities craft kit that I personally handmade the mold for. If you haven't gotten yours yet, they are again in limited quantities. Link will be down below, as well as the pinned comment. Welcome to Coffee and Conversation, the podcast where nothing is off table. I'm Jackie.
I'm Patrick.
And today's coffee and conversation includes my green tea. And what are you drinking today, Pat?
Mine espresso, actually.
Yeah, which flavor more specifically are you into at this time? What's the flavor of the month?
Since I drink so much coffee, currently it's decaf.
Yeah,
Just to have the flavor. Yeah, actually it is decaf.
Really? That's so rare for you to take decaf.
Yeah, because, I mean, with the coffees in the morning and then with work and so on, I ended up drinking quite a bit of coffee. So I still like the flavor, but just try to avoid as much caffeine as possible.
I think that's why I have green tea. Even though there's some caffeine in there, I think you told me it was a different kind of caffeine?
It's not that it's different kind, but it also has quite a bit less. I think like in a normal cup of coffee, they were saying it's like, especially a brewed cup of coffee, you have something like close to 150 milligrams of caffeine, whereas like in tea you have maybe like 30 milligrams of...
okay.
So it's really a ratio of like 1-5 or something along those lines. So
yeah, and they also say that if you drink coffee, you have to take an equal amount of water to stay hydrated. So for every cup of coffee that you drink, you're dehydrating yourself. So just to stay even, you have to take a cup of just water to stay hydrated. So that's our beverage of choice. However, my tea is actually cold.
Because I made it for you about an hour ago. An hour, 2 hours ago already.
And you know what's the worst part is I completely forgot you made it for me.
I know. Like always. You don't like the teas, I know.
No, it's not that. I genuinely forget. Like, he'll make me teas and coffees and beverages and leave it next to me on the desk. And I'll do my thing. And then he'll show up an hour later and be like, so I see you didn't drink the tea that I made you.
Now you made me feel bad. And you're just drinking it so I don't feel bad.
The last thing I want right now is to choke on it. I'm drinking it now. You feel good?
Not so much.
Not so much?
And I felt better if you drank it an hour ago, but that's okay.
Yeah, if I had remembered it, that's for sure. That would have been one thing at least. By the way, today's topic is not just rambling about coffee or forgotten teas, but I think it goes with the same idea that today we're going to be talking about how we deal with chronic illnesses, chronic diseases as a couple. Because when it's ourselves, sometimes we manage it differently, but then in a couple, it can get interesting, to say the least.
Why do you say interesting this way?
Well, I think as someone who has Hashimoto's, PCOS, and numerous other things, for me, I find it interesting because I always think that I'm more of a burden than anything else. Go ahead.
You know.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I think what's it called? Given all those little problems that you have, health problems, I think you're doing more than fine, because I think a lot of people, especially with Hashimoto, they're saying they're extremely fatigued. They're not able to do a lot of things of things in the house. Even just getting out of bed seem a daunting task.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, overall, I'm still high functioning, I would say, overall.
Yeah, I think I'm high functioning because I want to feel normal to a certain extent as much as possible. And for me, normal before all these issues has always been to be a super productive person, to do things that I love to do. So even before we met, I used to do karate, go to the gym, camping, hiking, school. Yeah, in addition to that, I used to also work. And then afterwards, when all of this stuff started hitting and I was feeling more tired, more in pain, I was like, no, I'm going to just keep going for it, because every doctor that I went to didn't tell me that I had anything.
No, that took a while.
They told me it was all in my head.
Yeah, or diet also. I mean, I remember the first few times when we went, because I think it started for you almost as we met I think you when we met, you were slowly starting to get some problems.
Yeah.
And you had some, I remember at that time you were really upset because you gained 10 pounds, I think.
Yeah.
About 10 pounds. And it came like almost, not overnight, but it really very, very, very quickly went
Within
up.
a week, like,
Yeah.
my clothes just weren't fitting.
Yeah, and I remember your friend back then, Dana, who was your trainer too, was so upset with you. It's like, Jackie.
Yeah. She was so pissed.
Yeah. It's like, come on. You know, be consistent with the diet, with everything. And so I think that was your first time where you had like a bit of a glimpse of it starting to appear.
Yeah, and it wasn't that I wasn't training hard or I wasn't eating well.
No, you were training like 5 times a week at that time. And
6.
you weren't really,
Six, and each time it was like between 2 and 4 hours a day.
Yeah, because you used to give classes in karate and then you used to go to the gym most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's clearly it wasn't an effort issue. And I mean, even at that time, I think your diet didn't really change either, because I remember you were still on Dana's diet, which was like very lean chicken with vegetables.
Yep.
And you kind of continued with that, and just randomly you got 10 pounds extra.
Yeah, it was just really out of nowhere. And we're talking about 10 pounds back then.
Mm-hmm.
But cumulatively, it's way more than that. Let's say something like 8 times more than that since then. So I've gained a lot of weight because of all the autoimmune disorders that just seemingly, for me, seem to have come out of nowhere. And the funny thing is, when I say I feel more like a burden, is because you've seen me at my best, quote unquote, physique, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm at for myself, the complete opposite. So
But you're still cute.
I went from like being built like a horse with muscles, and then now I'm built like a bear. So
Bears are cute.
bears are cute. Well, we do call each other Bear.
Mm-hmm.
That's our pet name for each other, which is Bear. I like it because
I like it too.
I think it's pretty representative. What?
In what sense?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty fluffy, so I think that represents me. And you're clumsy.
So that represents me.
So that represents... Because aren't pandas the clumsiest of the bears?
I don't know. Actually, I never checked that out.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't know.
So apparently pandas, anyone who's more familiar with pandas, correct me if I'm wrong, they're so clumsy that zookeepers actually have to hold them in place while they're eating, because they sometimes tumble and fall off of the trees.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No, I
they're,
didn't hear.
Yeah, the clumsiest of
That's so funny.
bears. And that's probably why they're going extinct too. They're probably not the brightest of bears.
Yeah, they're pretty big boys also most of the time.
Yeah, they're really cute though, but not the brightest. I think I should be a panda.
You think so?
Maybe.
But you just called me clumsy. So
I know,
should
but
be a
I'm not
panda.
the brightest. But not just talking about like some of the physical changes with what I've gone through, but you also have some chronic.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Also
hear about
about-
your chronic.
Yeah, for me, but it started also maybe mildly when I was in high school at first. It was always around eczema.
Yeah.
But during high school time and even university years, it was very, very mild. I was kind of like here and there on my hands, but not too much. It never really bothered me that much. And that kind of went full berserk maybe like a year after I met you.
I like how you call it full berserk.
But it's true.
It's true.
It's true, because it's like it came from like having a bit on my finger here and there, and like some of the places where I used to put my watch on, having some little pieces where I just removed my watch for a few days and it was fine, to suddenly like my both hands covered and I had a hard time even closing them without them being fully starting to bleed.
Yeah.
So that became really became an issue very, very quickly, actually.
Yeah, I remember when I met you, you had eczema. I know some places call it eczema.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Don't know which
I don't know which
pronunciation is the right
eczema,
one.
eczema. I don't know if eczema is in French and eczema is in English.
Possible eczema. Yeah.
Yeah, either or. That's we're gonna call it eczema because that's what we're used to calling it.
Yeah.
But if it's eczema, then it's eczema, however way you want to say it. Yeah, but I remember when I first met you, it was on your neck. Like it was
Yeah.
on your, like
I forgot
right
that I
under
had it
here,
even.
on your neck, on your chest.
It's true. Chest, no, not really.
Well, it trickled down, not entirely your chest, but kind of like
Yeah.
it trickled down, like it spread there.
Yeah, it started from like the shaving area from my neck
Yeah.
and everything, and that I had that, and I had it on my hands, like quite a bit.
Yeah, and even when you were seeing someone for it, what were they recommending you do?
Yeah, I remember. It's like that was my first experience with them, with the medical system for that part too.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like I show up, I have these issues with my skin, so in the end, doctor sees it, not phased at all. It's like, that's fine, it's eczema. Here's the cream. So I'm like super happy, go home, get the cream on. That works. I'm like super happy. Actually, it's like 1 day passes, 2 day passes, and it's almost fully cleared up. So I'm like, okay, great. Well, that was fast. That's great.
It was a cortisone cream.
Yeah,
right?
It's a
Yeah.
cortisone cream. But at that time, I didn't even know what it was, the cream. I just took the cream.
Trusted
as it
the
is.
doctor
I
and
trusted
went
the
on your
doctor.
merry little way.
Yeah. So I went there. So I'm like, I'm good. I'm happy. Then 2 days later, it slowly started to reappear and got to the point exactly how it was. I was like, wow, that was unexpected. That's not what I had in mind. Eventually, I spoke also with the doctor, and that's when I realized that I wasn't gonna find an easy solution, because it's like after speaking with him, I'm like, well, I don't quite understand it. I'm like, I put the cream, it went away, but now it came back, and that's when I learned that the cream is just there for the symptoms.
Yeah.
Not for an actual, not actually to solve any root cause.
No.
And
It really was just a patch.
yeah, it was just a patch for at that time. And speaking with him a bit, I was like, okay, but what can I do? I just want to really correct that at the source. I don't want to have that issue anymore. And yeah, fortunately, it was some type of autoimmune, I guess, chronic
Reaction,
disease,
yeah.
not autoimmune, but chronic reaction and everything. And they don't really know why. So when it really flares up badly, here you go, take a cream.
Yeah, and then we took matters more into our own hands and did some research and found that it was more or less the way the liver processes things, right? In your case?
It could be, but what's it called? Ultimately, I think what it started is it could have been related to some food allergies also from the intake of food. And that's something, I mean, never spoke with doctors about the food intake or did something change in my diet during that time.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's one of those things is once it got to the worst peak, I started to cut a lot of stuff in my diet.
Yeah, and where are you at now?
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at now. I'm like, I removed all gluten, all dairy, and my hands are fine.
Yep. Occasional swelling here and there, but nowhere near what it used to be.
Yeah, it still have some flare-ups rarely, but I would say I have them when we eat out.
Yeah.
If actually that's the only time.
That's true.
If we eat in, all week when we eat in, I don't have any issues anymore. It's really if we go somewhere where I don't really necessarily control all the ingredient list of the food of the plates, that's when I find I end up having some flare-ups.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest issue too with a lot of doctors. So if any doctors are listening, you're a part of a problem. I'm not
That's
gonna.
a bit rough.
I'm not saying I'm not gonna be easy here because when I'm gonna go back to my experience with the chronic part that started at first. So when I first starting having issues and going to the doctor and telling him, hey, I started to gain weight. I need to make sure. And by the way, I was, like I said, muscle, tone, slim, very athletic. And I went to the doctor and they said, oh, you're probably just eating a little too much. Just take some diuretics and lose that weight. Like poop the weight out, basically is what he said. I tried it. Got extra fiber from, I don't know, Fiber One or something like. I got more fiber into my diet, like these scoop powders. I don't know if you remember those powders.
Vaguely, I think I remember having those things on
so
the counter.
Yeah, I would put it in my water. I would put it in my tea.
Yeah, now I remember.
Yeah, so
It's
you're
been
just
so long.
It's been so long, but it's made of inulin, I think, or something like that. But anyways, I pooped quite a bit. Didn't lose any weight. Went back to the doctor. And at that point, I was so frustrated that I started to cry. And he's like, well, you know what? It's possibly because you're depressed. So he tried to put me on antidepressants. And I said no, because I know that's not the issue. Right. And then with time, as I continued to gain the weight and being more in pain, and my body didn't feel like me anymore, I was going to the doctor and I was telling him about all these pains and memory fog and all these things happening. And he goes, well, it's probably because you need to lose weight.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas it was a vicious circle.
Yeah, we got into a vicious circle at some moment.
Right? It's like, okay, so when I was at my slimmest, I was saying, hey, things are going on. Okay, doctor says, well, you're just depressed. Tries to give me antidepressants. And then when I get to the part where I'm already at the point of being chronically ill and in pain, now it's like, well, you just need to lose weight. It's like, dude, like, it's not one thing or another. And they refused to test me for things. And then we ended up going to, 6, 7 more doctors?
I would say so. I think we did a tour of a bunch of doctors more in the public system at first. And then I think after the 4th or 5th one, we kind of gave up on the public system. We're like, you know what? Maybe somebody on the private system is going to listen.
Yeah, because every single one was like, well, you just need to lose weight, eat better, here's some antidepressant. I'm like, no. I don't know why they constantly wanted to push them on me when clearly I knew something wrong was physically more than anything else.
I think it's because you were emotional.
Yeah, I was
showing up there. That's why they're like, okay, yeah, this one she needs help.
But that's the thing, is that they saw me at the emotional state because I'm the kind of person who, when I don't feel heard. When I don't feel heard, I get frustrated and I start crying. That's a whole other thing we can unpack in another video. But essentially, when I was talking and you could see that they glazed over and they zoned out, and then they just said, well, you know what I think it could be? It's like, oh, not again.
Yeah.
And then we did see a doctor in the private system.
Yeah.
He ran a bunch of tests. In the private system?
Yeah, I think the first one, especially.
Oh, the first one, yeah.
The first one on the it was an endocrinologist, I think. Yeah. This one was I think by far the worst.
I think, no, the female doctor was one of the worst too.
Oh yeah?
Both were she was semi-private, he was somewhat private too.
Yeah, he was also some ways, I find this one was the worst because we show up and I mean the first thing, he listens to you, I think like half for maybe 30 seconds at most. Then he's like, yeah, all right, well, yeah, I don't think you have any issues. I think you need to lose weight.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I tried to do that. It's like, yeah, but just cut some calories and everything.
It's true.
Yeah, that's where he was. It was like, okay, but
do you remember how much he told me to take?
Yes.
Calories intake a day.
This 600, he said, because
600 calories a day. This man recommended me to have an eating disorder.
Yeah, because that's why you were at that time. I remember you were so concerned. You were calorie counting and everything. I think you weren't passing already 1400.
1400 was over. Like I was
at 12 or 14.
12 was like really max at that time.
So that's why. So you were telling him that it's like, look, that's what it is. And then it's like we're trying to eat as clean as possible. We're not eating out. We don't have anything else going on.
Gluten is barely a thing in the house. We're lactose free for the most part.
Yeah.
Except the occasional poutine for me. Once in a while, that cheese.
Yeah. Once in a while, we have to have fun.
Yeah.
But what's it called? And I remember he was just, yeah, I guess that's too much for you. Some people have a slow metabolism. You're like, okay, but I'm still gaining weight, so what does that mean? It's like, I don't know, drop to 600 calories.
Yeah.
It's like 600 calories is nothing.
But you know what the worst part of this doctor is? He was actually talking to me when you were there. Because I found that the only reason doctors will listen, quote unquote, and talk to me like an actual person is when I bring Pat with me. Yeah. Whereas when I go by myself, they are way more dismissive.
Yeah, because I had to put the emphasis on your on which you were saying, because at first like, yeah, maybe you think you're eating not much, but it's like no.
Maybe you're grabbing cookies here and there or desserts here and there. It's like, no,
Yeah.
So he had to basically affirm what I'm saying. Like, my words were not good enough,
Yeah.
and your words were more important about me, which I thought was
Insulting.
misogynistic, first of all. Like, I hated that so much. But then the next time when I went by myself...
But even, that was not only it. Because it was that 600 calorie take in which we insisted is like, okay, but honestly, I don't think it's a diet thing. Please do some tests. Refused. At some point, he's like, you know what? I think it's just part of the aging process. You're just aging. You were in your 20s at that time.
Yeah, so I didn't understand the whole idea of you were aging.
I know. And that's why we tried to talk to him. I remember I was having the conversation with him. Is like, yeah, I understand the aging process can happen. But it's like, she's plateauing. She's literally, there's like little periods where you're going to take 10 pounds.
Mm-hmm. It's not, it's not progressive.
Aging.
It's not slow weight gain. It's really from one time to another. I bought I don't know if you remember, I bought a pair of pants for work on a Friday to wear on the Monday. And those same pair of pants fit me okay on the Friday.
But not on Monday.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I was like, how? How does a pair of pants that fit around my waist now not fit through my thigh? Like, how does that happen? It was the same pair of pants. I could see the disbelief in your eyes. But the thing is, we saw this doctor maybe four or five times.
I would say so.
Something like that. And then at some point he was like, well, you know what? It's just genetic. Some people are just made to be like that. But then, so if some people are just made to be like that, why was he making me feel guilty for quote unquote not losing weight? If that's the thing. So how is he trying to be a doctor and saying some people are just like that, but at the same time you're being fat phobic because you're not listening to everything else I'm saying?
Yeah. It was terrible actually. That last one was just like, yeah, I just can't help you.
Yeah, but then
That's
also I'm very frustrated with this doctor now that you reminded me of him. But push came to shove, at one point when he looked at the blood tests and when we were constantly pushing him for answers, he ended up saying, "You probably have Hashimoto's disease."
Yeah, it was like an onset of Hashimoto maybe, or
yeah. It's like, okay, will I be tested for that?
No. That's what I'm saying. This one was by far the worst.
Yeah. We ended up going to a more private clinic where the doctor really listened to every word. Like, every time I talked, he's like, okay. So at first I was like, is he even listening? But he actually was, and he was taking down notes on his computer.
Yeah.
And every medicine that I had heard of or read about, I was like, can we try this? Can we try that? And he was 100% down.
Yeah. But in the meantime, we saw some other doctors that actually diagnosed you with Hashimoto at that time officially.
Yeah.
It took time, but they eventually, that was also another part where I said took way too long to get that diagnosis out.
It took a long time. In the meantime, things that I love to do, I couldn't do. But in that process, you've always been like really supportive, and I don't know why. I don't know why. But you've been always super supportive and like my number one fan when it came to these things. And I think that's where our approach to our marriage is pretty fun, because we're not just married, we're partners.
Yeah. No, but I mean, what did you want me to say? It's not your fault, you know?
Yeah, but you'd be surprised how many people, especially from grains in the community here, have been telling me that when they have autoimmune disorders or something like that, their partners are not supportive, not understanding, and in some occasions have actually left them.
You know what? Maybe here it's also since I had eczema, and to some moments it was really was debilitating at some moments to do my activities. You kind of realize maybe that whatever you do, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's just how it is. And it's like, I had a long stretch of time like that. So maybe that made me see also that, you know what? Hey, I know you're telling the truth because I experienced something. No,
well, thank you for believing me.
No, but it's true that it's not something you're trying to invent also. And that I know that whatever you try to do, it just your body's not reacting to it. So it's just this is how it is. There's no
Yeah, because I'm go big or go home kind of person. And even while the doctors were saying, you should exercise more, eat less, you were actively seeing me have so little portions of, like, I am the kind of person that will do the thing.
Oh yeah, you have no issues.
Yeah, and even when I was training, you were telling me like to calm down.
Yeah, calm down, because it's like you'll get time to train. Don't worry about it. You don't need to do all that today.
Yeah, and even when we used to do CrossFit together.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was really fun. We used to go to a place called Misfit.
Yeah.
And it was a girls only CrossFit place, but they allowed the spouses of the girls to come. So basically no single guys. So they don't come and hit on the girls kind of thing. Why are you laughing at that?
That's funny because again, it's the subject. It's the current subject of the time.
Because there's so
masculinity.
many. Yeah, because there's so many creeps out there, and you've told me how many times that you find a lot of guys gross.
Yeah.
And you have no idea where they find that audacity.
Yeah, because you don't, especially the ones you see afterwards being recorded, because they're pretty. You don't see them necessarily like that in real life when there's a lot of people, but it's when they're alone that you see it's the creepiness. The
creepiness really does come out.
Yeah.
And it's gross. It's like, have some self-respect and have some respect for other people. Don't be gross. But yeah, so going back to Misfit CrossFit, when we would train there, we started at the same time as a few other girls who were training there as well at the same time. And I'm not going to name names, but some of these girls were not doing the entire exercises, right?
No. It was
they weren't doing the full exercises as the trainer had said at the time. But after a month of being there, they had slimmed down quite a bit. Meanwhile, I had gained weight.
Yeah, I think you did. Not much, but a bit.
Yeah, I was, and for those of you who want to say, but hey, this could be muscle mass. No, it's not. Trust me, I was a trainer. I know the difference between muscle mass gain and fat gain and or water retention. I'm very familiar with that. And it wasn't muscle gain. I promise you, I'm having such a hard time gaining muscle mass. And then again with the doctor, then I got my second diagnosis, which was PCOS.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
But I feel like a lot of the stuff that you have is a symptom.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's like, it's just, there's a bunch of symptoms that are bundled up together and they're like, okay, cool, we have a name for this. This is Hashimoto.
Right.
This is PCOS. But it's like, I think your body's out of balance somehow. I just don't know how to put it back in balance. I have a feeling that once like that one little thing is found, I think it's just gonna get there.
Yeah, but it's the hard part is to find that thing that did the trigger, right? And a lot of times when it comes to hormonal imbalance, again with Hashimoto's or PCOS, sometimes the biggest trigger actually is an emotional trauma.
Yeah, stress.
Yeah, so stress will have triggered these things to kind of attack themselves in your body. And I know that these issues had started in a previous podcast. I had mentioned my ex, who was also the stalker, remember?
Yeah.
So we had the ex that was the stalker. There was me being having been kicked out of the karate school.
Yeah.
That was another thing. So all of these issues, even though they started before I met you, it was pretty much around the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a stressful time, I remember.
Yeah, it was really stressful. And I'm not the kind of person that stresses easy.
No, but I remember that those times you were actually depressed for a bit of time.
100% I was at that time.
Yeah. That was from the first times where it's like I had to drag you out of bed.
Yeah, I was literally laying there kind of like a little baloney. Yeah. I was like this. And you're like, come on, let's go for a walk. I'm like, no, existence is futile. In a little bit more exaggeration. But you were really there to kind of like get me out.
Coming out. You're coming outside. We're gonna go grab a coffee or a dessert or something outside.
Yeah. I was like, I don't deserve the dessert. It was like, it was pretty intense. Like all these things happening at the same time was definitely possibly a trigger.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's what they find recently. It's like I've been reading a lot of books around brain health and all that stuff. And yeah, the permanent stress and everything for long periods of time has actually an impact on the brain and areas on your brain. So I wouldn't be surprised that's what had some affected you more deeply at that time.
You also read quite a bit about not neurodiversity, but neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
What can you explain what by the way, we are not medical experts. If any of things we said are wrong, definitely correct us down below because we love to learn new things. But what can you explain, like, very briefly what neuroplasticity is and what you were particularly interested about it?
No, it was mainly that your brain is able to, because there was that misconception before before the 2000s, is that your brain is very static. So once you kind of finish school and you grow up to a certain age, your brain doesn't really evolve anymore. You don't create new neurons or anything like that. Whereas the theories that emerged afterwards was more to say that actually this is not true. Your brain always reacts to your environment and can reshape itself based on your environment, your conditions and everything. And basically that's with some of the neuroplasticity. So some of the activities have a great impact on regenerating your brain, for example.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that I was finding interesting more recently, is that exercise was a big contributor to helping your brain overall, like diminishing stress, some regions in your brain.
When we're talking exercise, we even just mean walking.
Walking, but ideally if you can have a bit more.
Fast-paced walking, especially for those who can't necessarily do much activity. Walking enough just to get your heart moving.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Enough of getting a bit of a blood flow going on has a great impact. Yeah, so I think maybe for you, not sure if it fully applies that way, but I guess what comes out from all those studies is how your brain adapts to the environment, and whether it's positive or negative. And I think in your case, since you had like that such long period of time of very negative, very stressful environment, I think it had like a profound change probably in some of the areas in your brain without knowing.
Because I was on high stress for at least 8 months. Super high stress. So I think going from like 0 to 100 in terms of stress level, and then in addition to having been kicked out of the karate school, the owner of the gym I was going to was friends with the owner of the karate school. And what did he do? Do you remember?
I think he tried to kick you out.
No, he didn't try. He did.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he did kick me out. And I was like, dude, I paid for the whole year. And then they reimbursed me. So I was in that high stress environment because this karate guy knew a lot of people in the area. So I was kicked out of that gym that I really liked as well. And because I was kicked out of the gym, a lot of my friends who were there and I hung out with them there, I was no longer quote unquote part of that circle anymore.
I think also, during that time, the thing was that it was a huge, karate was a huge part of your life. Was like your life was revolving around that. So that was a huge part of your life that was just kind of cut off one shot.
Yeah, and if you're interested to know that whole story of why I was kicked out of that karate school, there's a whole podcast that I did about it. I will link it down below. And for those of you listening, it is called My Evil Dad. That's the title of that podcast. So if you're interested in hearing that one and why this guy did what he did, then definitely give that one a listen. It was quite the experience, learning to have given so much of yourself just to learn that you were serving a narcissist.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one of those points that was not fun around that time. And I literally only had you at that time, including my siblings.
Yeah.
So you basically became that circle that tried to get me out of it.
I became the default circle.
You became the default circle because when I was kicked out, you never went back to that karate school. You stayed with me.
Yeah. But did I come back after?
You didn't.
Because I left at the time, that's for sure.
You left as the class was being given when he kicked me out. And you, like, ran right after me to say, like, what's going on.
No,
and I explained it to you.
I had an idea already why, but I didn't want you to you were visibly very upset.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, hey, get out of the library kind of thing.
Yeah. It's not like, hey, I'll go back another time.
Yeah.
It was visibly like, give me the key
Yeah.
to the thing that I built.
Yeah, pretty much. And I know it was, I mean, you at that time especially used to be there like at least 5 times a week also.
Yeah.
So it was really borderline your school, to be honest.
Yeah. But that's, I think, if we backtrack a little bit, that's probably the reason why this guy wanted me out.
Yeah, I think you took too much space.
The space that he gave me, though. He did not want me to have too much space, and yet he was the one skipping classes for me to teach them.
I know, but it's the kind of thing, I guess you were not giving enough credit to him, even though I find you were giving more credit than he deserved, to be honest. But
yeah. But again, it's having learned what a narcissist... I didn't know at the time what a narcissist was.
Yeah.
Narcissistic personality disorder is quite a thing, so that was...
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is as soon as you started... As people over there started to appreciate you more than him, that became an issue.
Yeah, because he needed to be the hero of that school. But yeah, all these things were happening, but Pat was one of the people who was there from the beginning, and you continue to be there, despite the fact of, you know, me trying so many things at the same time. Right now, I'm also trying a few things.
Yeah.
To try and better my health. It's not about the weight loss anymore. It's just about the control of the pain and the memory fog. That must annoy you, though.
I got used to it.
That because I annoy myself. Like, I forget things. Like, he'll put a tea for me, and I will genuinely forget you've made it.
But you know what? Your memory is not... was never really good,
to be honest. It was never good, but it wasn't this bad, though. Like, this is bad. Like, you make me a tea. It'll be right in front of me. I will see the tea. It will be right there. There's vegetables in the fridge, but because I can't see them, they don't exist. So I forget about them. And then I walk from one room to another, and I forget what I was doing. Sometimes I put the orange juice in the cupboard.
Yeah.
As opposed to in the fridge. And then I put the window cleaner also in the fridge at some point, like...
Yeah, you find some weird stuff in the house sometimes. Kind of get used to it by that, but no, I think, it's not too bad.
But at first, I'm sure it was annoying at first, because I would annoy, I still annoy myself.
Yeah, honestly, overall, like I said, I got used to it. And your memory, I mean, you're thinking your memory was better before, but it wasn't.
It was always crap.
So it was always pretty mediocre at best.
You know what's the worst thing? It's what my memory is bad at. So I will not forget my students' names. A few years down the line, I will remember my students. And that's why when people approach me sometimes from the YouTube perspective, I'm like, I could not have forgotten the student, even though I'm searching in my mind to see if this person was a student of mine, and in fact they're not. But I don't forget my students. I remember my students' names. I have a clear memory of my childhood too. I remember my dreams when I wake up. Like, there's things that I clearly, vividly remember, but then day-to-day things, it's a memory fog.
Yeah, it's a
brain fog.
It's a brain fog, I think, yeah. It's your concentration that is off.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing. It's not necessarily your memory is bad, it's your concentration is not fully there. And it's like you lose what you're focusing on currently.
Yeah.
I think so. That's why you kind of start something and then you just lose that part, that train of thought.
Yeah. What would be for you the most annoying thing in this situation?
I mean, the most annoying thing, I guess, and it's not your fault, is that sometimes we can't do some of the activities.
That's true.
I would say that's the downside, I would say.
Yeah, because there are times where he's like, hey, you want to go for a walk? There's like this really cool nature park that we can go to. I'm like, I can't. Like, I physically can just make it maybe a 5 to 10 minute walk on some days. But I am doing the back surgery part too.
Yeah, hopefully that helps. But I would say that this is the only part.
Yeah.
That is more annoying, I guess, is really to say it's like, would be fun to be able to do more activities, but we can't really because I know that what's it called, or your back currently due to all those issues, yeah, is not permitting really to do. So I would say that's what I would find for it to be great is as soon as that second surgery, and also if we can find the root cause of the problems that you have, so that we can have more activities that we could do.
Yeah, I think
would say.
physically, if we can get my back fixed, which is, as you're hearing this podcast, I'm already in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And the second procedure should be ongoing. But, you know, the first one, as hyped as I was that I felt good about it, I'm currently not feeling well.
But honestly,
it started off well. Yeah, they said it should take about 3-ish months.
Yeah, I think you were...
ambitious.
Yeah.
I felt like I could rule the world. Like, I legitimately told my doctor, I felt so good and like I could rule the world, and they might as well have just added me into the next Avengers. And he started to laugh. But he said, yeah, it's normal not to have much progress until about the 3-month mark. So, yeah.
No, but that's why I was pretty happy that when you came back that you actually felt better. But
yeah, we were going for walks.
Yeah.
I was like starting the elliptical.
But me, as a difference, I guess, from you is I honestly didn't put my hopes up because
in
my head, no, but it's true. In my head, I was almost sure it was the cortisone that was helping you out.
And it was 100%. Like, I had my gaming setup ready. I was like, I'm going to start my gaming channel again. I'm going to do live streaming. And then seemingly on day 12 or 13,
it started to feel slow.
Broken again.
But that's the thing, is for me, when you came back and I was like, wow, the second day you're like way better than before. And I was like, I remember because I was on the calls when you were speaking with the doctor, and that's not what he was saying.
Yeah, but
so that's why I was like, that's clearly not what he was saying.
I was like, I'm the miracle child.
Yeah, he was like, it's going to take, after 3 months, it's going to start slowly to get back, and it's going to be a slow progress. That's why I'm like, there's no way that after 2 days, you got that much progress.
I felt really good. Like, I was going out to do errands as an excuse. Mm-hmm. So I was like, we need dishwasher cleaner.
Yeah, I know. I remember you bought so much stuff.
I just wanted to do errands for no particular reason other than the fact that I could.
Mm-hmm. I was like, well, we need this stuff for the house. We need this stuff for the house.
Yeah, we went like shopping for
It's like new sponges,
chairs.
New stuff. Yeah.
I got canvases so that we can paint on.
Yeah.
I was about ready to have us signed up for the pottery class again.
Yeah, I remember that. So I was like, you know what? Let's take our time first.
You knew something I didn't, clearly.
No, it's because you knew it. You just choose to ignore it.
No, I honestly, genuinely, completely forgot.
Did you?
Yeah, genuinely. I thought like, oh, this is like, it's going to just get better from now.
No, because that's what I remember. He was saying, it's like, oh, well, to ease a bit of the pain at first and everything, we're going to use cortisone. So it's going to feel better at first. But then like the whole procedure is going to take a few months to get in. So that's why for me, I'm like, okay, I hope the cortisone works out very well up until your back starts to fix itself. And then...
No. But at least the good news is on round 2 of the surgeries, I'm getting cortisone again.
Yeah. So you'll be good for
I'll be good again. So I'm going to try and record videos ahead of time again.
Yeah.
And then take it easy as much as I can.
And then hopefully it's going to start to fully recover, take its natural course at that time. But yeah.
Yeah, I would hope so. Mm-hmm. There's so much I absolutely want to do that it would be really fun to just do them. And if it does work, that's something that I can recommend to anyone who's had that kind of back pain. But in the meantime, because I don't have that final experience, I can't really say I recommend anything. Yeah,
but that's the thing. It's going to take a bit of time. I think you can only have a clearer picture maybe after 6 months, I would say, if it really helps you out or if it was just a waste of time.
Yeah. But
and money.
Because I'm going to ask myself the question now. I asked you, what was the most annoying part about my situation? Mm-hmm. And I would say I can tell you what my most annoying situation is with your condition. Mm-hmm. So my most annoyed part is when we travel to Japan and you can't have ramen. That for me, it's like, I know you can't have it because you have dietary restrictions with gluten and all that. And you do cheat sometimes.
Yeah.
But not too much. And then sometimes I want to go for a bowl of noodles or have some like specific kind of pancake that's made in Japan, but he can't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And the restaurants are made so that in Japan, most of them, you have to order something, every single person.
Not just that, but a lot of them, it's like a ramen shop is a ramen shop. It's
Yeah.
not a ramen shop where you can order a rice bowl.
Yeah, it's specialty shops in Japan. So therefore, there are times where I just can't have certain foods, even though technically I'm mostly gluten-free. I don't react in the same way that you do.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest annoyance is I want to drag you in there with me, but you can't because you can't order that thing.
Yeah. That's why I'm telling you, go alone. But I know sometimes you don't really feel like it.
And I
either.
can't
It's not the
finish
same
some
experience.
portions alone either.
Yeah, and
it's like
not the same
okonomiyaki.
experience. Yeah.
It's a Japanese pancake. And normally when you order one piece, I don't know who says Japanese portions are small. Honestly,
They're fine.
they're big enough. Like I sometimes can't finish my plates and I'll eat for flavor because they're that good. But the portions are more than fine. They're not American portions though.
Yeah, they're not humongous amounts of food, but I mean, a lot of the restaurants we've been, even like more the fast food ones, I mean, you have unlimited refills of rice.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, I mean, they have like those options to supersize like the amount of meat or the bowl.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even when we went with your siblings that love big portions, some of them,
They were more than fine.
they were fine because you can just order the bigger bowl and it was fine. I don't think I don't think I can say I ever went to a restaurant where I came out from there and I'm like, I'm still hungry.
Yeah, and I love the fact that in Japan, I know some people will have a different take on this one, but they have child size, they have normal size,
Yep.
and then they have women's size.
Yep.
So your bowl, your bowl of food is not the normal size, which I guess they would consider like male size.
Yeah.
And then they have the child size, but the women's size is somewhere in between. So it's like small, medium, large portions.
Yeah, I guess it's like a small portion versus a medium normal, and then you had the options for a large.
Yeah, I think it's funny but not funny at the same time because there's that idea that women should be eating less.
Yeah.
But in fact, during certain times of the month, women expel more energy and more calories. So yes and no. I kind of like that size because for me, I can't finish a regular bowl size and a child size is too small. So I end up taking sometimes the women's size.
But then, they can just call it small, medium, large.
Yeah, I know. and that's the thing is they have small, medium, large for everything in Japan.
So, I mean, that way you solve the problem. You don't have any issues of offending anyone.
Yeah, I don't know why they go with that women's size thing. But Japan has a lot to work on when it comes to like the image of women, over there. But I do appreciate the medium size. That's for sure. So I think that's probably, and I'm sure you're annoyed with that too.
I'm even more annoyed than that. I mean, imagine for me, my favorite food is pizza.
Yeah. Oh.
Imagine that.
That's so true. When I first met you,
I could have pizza for breakfast.
Every day. I remember.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, stacks of pizza boxes in your recycling bin.
Yeah, I like Domino's.
Yeah. Yeah, not sponsored by Domino's, but hey, Domino's, reach out if you want.
Always good. But yeah, so that's why. So for me, it's even more annoying. Imagine, especially in a place, I mean, aside of the fact of even being in Japan where a good chunk of the stuff is with gluten.
Yeah.
I mean, wherever we travel, it's the same thing. I mean, even when we go to Europe.
Yeah, eventually, when we do go to Italy.
Yeah, we were planning
what
to
are you
go.
going to eat?
I don't know.
Salad with balsamic vinegar.
But that's the thing. I think I'm gonna have to take it and deal with the consequences. But yeah, so for me it's even more annoying. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I got frustrated for a good bit of time, for a few years, I would say even, where I was like, yeah, I think I'm good enough now to start again. And then I was feeling terrible.
Yeah.
And then I stopped. And at some moment, I made that transition to say, you know what, I feel so bad afterwards that, you know what, even though I enjoy so much the food, I feel so
the trade-off wasn't worth it.
The trade-off doesn't work. And also, to be honest, we found some good alternatives that help.
Yeah, we have nowadays gluten-free items are not as gross as they used to be when I first heard about them.
Yeah.
Before, you could literally knock someone out with a piece of toast.
I mean, the toasts were terrible.
They were cardboard.
Yeah.
They were gross and they were frozen for a reason.
Yeah, and
Because
they should have
nobody
stayed
buys them.
frozen. And they should have stayed frozen because I mean seriously, the first few times, it's like the texture is off.
Yeah.
It's dry. You need like
Crumbly.
it's crumbly. You need like a glass of water.
And the
It
worst thing
just-
is if you take that bread with peanut butter, which is already a dry
yeah.
thing.
That's called depression. You know? But
Yeah.
but that's why I think honestly for me at least the biggest MVP machine that we got is the rice bread maker
Yeah.
from Japan.
So for context, when I went to Japan before the holidays,
Mm-hmm.
Pat was before I even
Yeah.
left, Pat was talking to me about how cool it was that Japan actually has a rice bread maker. You legitimately put your rice grains
Mm-hmm.
into the machine as they are. You wash your rice grains, you add a couple of ingredients in there, and you close the cap. And in the morning, they turn those rice grains into an actual loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm. And it tastes awesome.
Yeah,
It's seriously
soft and
spot on.
fluffy. And so when I went to Japan in November of 2019,
No,
Yeah.
I think it was before even.
was it?
Yeah, it was not the 2019 one.
It's got to be the 2019 one.
You were
October,
with your
with my
siblings.
sister.
No, it was with your siblings.
With my siblings?
Yeah. It
Okay,
was
so
with
it
your
was before
siblings,
that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something else. Oh, it's the foot massaging
Yeah,
machine
it's the
that I
foot
got
massage
you.
machine. But yeah, no, this one was already. It's already a good 4 or 5 years old at least.
Oh, that old.
Yeah,
Time
I've been using
flies.
it like every week, a few times a week.
Yeah,
For that
so
time.
basically I brought that machine for him and he was so happy that
Yeah.
he literally uses it every day to make fresh bread. Well, every other day
Yeah,
because the
yeah,
bread lasts about 2 days.
Exactly.
It's a small loaf, but at least you get that little win. But
Mm-hmm.
even then, like the breads nowadays that are gluten-free are still pretty good.
Yeah, but the only thing I would say, even though they're pretty good, I don't necessarily feel so good eating that too.
Oh, no?
No, most of the time, I think that's one of those things that I find with the gluten-free stuff is I think there's too many chemicals in it and I just don't feel very, very good most times. So try to avoid them as much as possible unless it's something that was like specifically made to be gluten-free, you know,
Yeah.
like rice crackers. They were made like normally to be gluten-free anyways.
What about the pizza dough? Like
The-
the pizza crusts that we used to get up until a couple of months ago. I guess we used to get them because you react to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we stopped because even though I was finding them pretty good, and overall it was really, really good too. But yeah, I was feeling tired after
Yeah.
them quite a bit.
I
too.
think for you, milk was the worst.
Yeah,
Because you
milk
used to
is
drink
terrible.
milk
Mm-hmm.
as like a protein after
Yeah, after training.
training.
Yeah,
and
it's
then you told me you would get nightmares from it.
Yeah, yeah. That's something I realized. It's like I was waking up like in the middle of the night, like terror nightmares, pretty much. And over time, I'm like it was happening. So I just never really realized it until I stopped milk when I was starting to cut a bit of different what was bugging my system. And yeah, I remember afterwards, I was like, okay, let's reintroduce milk again.
Yeah.
And like, again, I was waking up like super anxious and everything. I don't know what it is. Maybe some
It's
hormones
funny,
or
how
something like that. Or
we don't-
chemicals or anything.
But that's the thing is we don't always realize that there's a connection between the thing that's supposed to be good for us because they keep marketing it
yeah.
good for us and the thing that we use. So we don't put the link together. That's what's causing us a dis-ease to a certain extent. It's like when I used to have my underarms swollen, painful, and tender.
Yeah. From the deodorants.
And it turned out as deodorant because I'm allergic to metal.
Mm-hmm.
And these things have aluminum.
Yeah. It was
So-
not super healthy things.
No. So I know this is going to sound gross, but trust me, it works. I'm Arabic. we're some of the smelliest people. So I'm just putting it out there. I stopped using deodorant and started just basically using the natural stuff, which was like baking soda and a combination of something else. And that actually helped. But it took a while. It took like 2 months to detox my, I guess, lymph nodes at the time. But it worked. After a couple of months, I was stench free. So yeah, that's the thing is we look at something and we don't make the link because we're like, hey, this is good for us.
And it's part of your life for so long that you never realize that it's maybe bothering you. I think the key is we'll have to take like a 3 months vacation somewhere in the mountains.
That's an extreme
and
measures.
See what really if our bodies are getting back to normal, and see afterwards what the link is.
Yeah, that would be
ideal.
Interesting to say. I don't know if I can go without my social media.
Mm-hmm.
I love it as much as any other millennial. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but I really do enjoy social media.
So I think it's okay.
You think it's okay? So if you do have questions about how we deal with each other and our chronic illnesses, honestly, Pat's only been super supportive on days where I really can't move. He's the one preparing all the meals, bringing them to bed for me, and we would watch Netflix while I can't move in bed. Like, I thought at some point you would be like, I don't love you anymore because of the chronic illnesses, but I mean, you've stuck through.
Mm-hmm. I still love you.
Oh, now people are going to swoon on you again. They swooned on you when you called me a trophy wife. In the last video, I knew it. You sly son of a biscuit.
I try.
You try, but you try pretty good. With that said, thank you for listening to Coffee and Conversation. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Patrick.
And you can find us all over Spotify, Google, Pandora, and all of that good stuff. Until then, we will see you in the next podcast.